The Walking Dead, a show where everyone wants to be Rick, but most of you are actually Eugene. The show starts with Rick Grimes, a small-town sheriff turned murder jacket, throat-biting badass. Today, we're rewriting his biggest decisions and seeing how the entire story could have turned out completely differently. Starting with Rick's first major decision in The Walking Dead, killing Shane, his former best friend. As we all know, Shane planned to kill Rick in the woods, but Rick bought himself just enough time and killed Shane instead. And we all know how everything spiraled from there. But in this reimagining, Rick and Shane actually reconcile in that moment and head back to the farm together. Realistically, though, Shane wouldn't last long there. The tension between him and Rick is unbearable, like trapping two exes in the same room and expecting them to act normal. All throughout Season 2, Shane kept talking about leaving the farm with Andrea, and in this version, he actually does. With or without Andrea, Shane is absolutely more than capable of surviving on his own. Eventually, he'd run into the Saviors, the biggest survivor group out there, and honestly, Negan's philosophy fits Shane a little too well. He'd climb the ranks quickly and end up living comfortably in the sanctuary as a high-ranking savior. Now, imagine the lineup scene, Rick and Shane seeing each other again. It would be an even bigger shock than Rick reuniting with Lori and Shane back in Atlanta. And once Shane learns about Lori's death, he'd immediately throw it at Rick, reminding him how he failed to protect his own family. He'd probably be thrilled to see Rick broken, because Shane had once been in that exact place. And when Shane finds out about Judith, he'd forcefully take her from Rick and raise her himself, since she's his daughter. After that, the plot would unfold mostly the same. Rick's group would still win, thanks to Eugene's bullet trick, just like in the original show. But here's where things change. Rick spared Negan because Carl died trying to save a stranger, and Carl's letters pushed him toward mercy. But with Shane, no chance. Rick already spared him once back in Season 2, and even after that, Shane still turned against him and took Judith away. Rick Grimes isn't forgiving him twice. In this universe, Shane doesn't make it out alive. The next decision we're looking at is Rick allowing Michonne to join the group. In the original show, Michonne collapses near the prison fence with baby formula. Rick's group takes her in, and she tells them everything, that Maggie and Glenn are being held in Woodbury, and that the governor is basically running a dictatorship next door. But if Rick had not allowed her in and sent her away, the entire story would have changed instantly. Without Michonne, Rick would have no idea that the governor even exists, and no clue that Maggie and Glenn were being held prisoners. That means Rick never launches the rescue mission, which means both Maggie and Glenn die in Woodbury. And without any warning about the power-hungry governor living right down the road, Rick's group would be completely unprepared for the first attack from the governor. They'd take massive casualties, so many that I genuinely believe only the main characters, Rick, Daryl, Carl, and Herschel, would be forced to abandon the prison entirely. However, Herschel might slow down the group due to his amputated leg, so he might not survive either. With nowhere else to go, they'd end up heading toward Terminus, since, as we all know, all roads lead to Terminus. And with Carol still being with them at this point, the group never gets saved by badass Carol. They walk straight into the trap, and this time, there's no last-second rescue. They all get killed and eaten by the people of Terminus. Now, the next major decision was Rick and his friends joining Alexandria. For this, we imagine that Rick's group never met Aaron and simply kept on going. I believe Rick's group would eventually bump into one of Negan's outposts, most probably the satellite outpost. The Saviors would probably offer them shelter if they gave up their weapons. You know, the typical Saviors dialogue. But knowing Murder Jacket Rick and his hungry friends, I don't think they'd take that offer. After the prison war and Terminus, they only care about survival and trust absolutely nobody. They have no food, no water, no shelter, nothing. So Rick's group would seize the opportunity after seeing the supplies in the outpost and take everyone out. They'd gather all the supplies and get back on the road, where they would probably be stopped by Simon and his men, similar to what happened in the original show. Simon and his men would do the exact same thing and threaten Rick's group. But this time, instead of backing up, Rick's group would probably take out Simon and the other saviors, simply because they have nothing to lose, nowhere else to go, desperately need more resources, and aren't trusting anyone. Obviously, this can't go on forever, as Negan's group is far superior in both firepower and manpower, so the same lineup would happen again. But instead of Glenn and Abraham, I believe Negan would take out Rick as well as everyone else. And, obviously, we aren't considering plot armor. So, with all that being said, if Rick hadn't joined Alexandria, they'd probably end up dead. The last major decision we'll be talking about is, what if Rick didn't blow himself up on the bridge? In the original show, we all know that in Season 9, Rick blew up the bridge to take down the Walker Horde, was rescued by Jadis and the CRM, and wasn't seen for the remainder of the series. This would be really interesting, since we haven't seen how Rick would have dealt with the Whisperers and the Commonwealth. Rick would probably try to be diplomatic about the Whisperers' situation at first. But after Dante kills Sadiq, the man Carl died saving, Rick would turn back into Murder Jacket Rick and unleash hell on Alpha and Beta. I still believe Negan would be sent to scout the Whisperers' camp, and would eventually kill Alpha, while the remaining war with Beta would go a bit smoother. It would be very interesting seeing Rick fight alongside Negan to take out the Horde and defeat Beta. After all this, I see Rick still being adamant about not letting Negan fully work or live freely in Alexandria. For everything Negan has done, he would probably be sent away and banished. Carol, grateful for his actions, would likely give him a bunch of supplies and a cabin in the woods. After that, I see Negan joining some random group. Now, the Commonwealth arc would pretty much go the same as it did in the original show. But this time, instead of Daryl giving the final "We aren't the Walking Dead" speech, it would be Officer Friendly giving his iconic "We can all live together" speech. I don't really see the Commonwealth arc being any different from what happened in the original show. The show would probably end with Rick, Michonne, and Judith being together, similar to what we saw in the spin-off The Ones Who Live. So that's about it. Let me know what you think about these alternate timelines in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, see you next time.